There is a baby in this story. It is approximately 40,000 years ago, and the baby has just arrived in a world that is not designed for it. It cannot walk, cannot feed itself, cannot regulate its own body temperature, cannot communicate anything beyond the sound of distress. It is, by every biological measure, the most helpless newborn in the entire animal kingdom. A foal can stand within an hour of birth. A wildebeest calf runs with the herd within minutes. A human infant cannot even hold its own head up for months. We are born, relative to every other mammal, absurdly early. Evolutionary biologists at University College London have confirmed what every new parent suspects immediately. Human babies arrive before they are ready because their brains are growing so fast that waiting any longer would make birth physically impossible. We solve the problem by being born unfinished. That baby, unfinished and completely dependent, needed to eat within hours, and someone had to figure out how. The answer, for most of human history, was the same answer mammals had been using for 60 million years: breast milk. But breast milk is not as simple as it sounds, and the ancient relationship between human infants and human milk is one of the most sophisticated biological negotiations in the natural world. Human breast milk is not uniform. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has shown that the composition of human milk changes hour by hour, day by day, and month by month in direct response to the infant's changing needs. In the first days after birth, before true milk arrives, the breast produces colostrum, a thick yellowish fluid so dense with antibodies and immune factors that a single teaspoon contains more protective proteins than most modern supplements. Ancient humans had no word for immune system. They had no concept of antibodies, but their bodies were delivering precisely calibrated immune protection to their infants from the first feeding. The milk that followed changed as the baby changed. More fat when the baby needed to grow faster. More water on hot days when dehydration was the threat. More immune factors when illness moved through the group. The mother's body was running a continuous biological analysis of what her infant needed and adjusting the formula in real time without any conscious instruction. Your body did this, or a body did this for you. Every human being alive has received this specific calibrated care, not as a modern medical intervention, as the oldest biological inheritance our species carries, but breastfeeding, as sophisticated as it is, created a problem that ancient communities had to solve. What happened when a mother could not feed her infant? When she died in childbirth? When her milk did not come? When illness took her before the infant was weaned? In a world without formula, without bottles, without any alternative infrastructure, this was not a theoretical problem. It was a death sentence for the infant unless someone intervened. And someone almost always did. Archaeological evidence and anthropological research from communities across multiple continents reveals a practice so consistent it appears to be a human universal shared nursing. Other lactating women in the group would feed an infant whose mother could not. Wet nursing is documented in ancient Egypt, in ancient Rome, in hunter-gatherer communities studied by researchers at Harvard's Department of Human Evolutionary Biology. It predates recorded history by hundreds of thousands of years. The community's infants were not solely the biological mother's responsibility. They were the group's responsibility. Every nursing woman was, in some biological sense, every infant's mother. One of the oldest human social contracts we can confirm. And it worked. The survival rates in communities practicing shared nursing were significantly higher than any alternative the ancient world could offer. But milk, shared or not, was never going to be enough forever. Somewhere between 6 months and 2 years, depending on the group and the conditions, ancient infants had to begin eating solid food. And here is where human ingenuity produced something that the archaeological record captured in a detail so specific it is almost unbearable to contemplate. Chewed food. Researchers studying dental calculus, the hardened residue that builds up on ancient teeth, have found consistent evidence that prehistoric adults pre-chewed food before giving it to infants. The process had a name long before science gave it one. Premastication. An adult, Almost certainly the mother in most cases, but not always, would take food, chew it until it was soft and broken down, and transfer it to the infant's mouth. This is not primitive. This is chemistry. The human mouth produces amylase, an enzyme that begins breaking down complex starches into simple sugars during chewing. Pre-chewed food arrived in the infant's digestive system already partially processed, easier to absorb, safer to consume. The adult mouth was functioning as an external digestive system for a digestive system not yet capable of the work. If you find yourself wanting to go deeper into how ancient humans solved the problems that modern life has made invisible, I post these regularly, and subscribing means the next one reaches you. The foods being pre-chewed varied by region and season. Analysis of ancient infant remains and dental calculus from sites across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East shows evidence of soft tubers, animal fat, bone marrow softened by cooking, and early grain pastes. In coastal communities, soft fish flesh. In forest communities, plant material processed to remove bitterness and toxicity before being given to infants. Nothing toxic, nothing hard. Nothing that required a digestive system that had not yet developed. Every food choice was a specific solution to a specific biological constraint, made by people who had no biology textbooks and no pediatric guidelines, and who were nonetheless making exactly the right calls. The weaning period itself, the transition from milk to solid food, lasted years longer in ancient communities than modern practice recommends. Research from the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology analysing nitrogen isotopes in ancient infant bones suggests that full weaning in prehistoric communities typically occurred between 2 and 4 years of age. The extended nursing was not sentiment, it was immune protection. Every day of nursing was another day of maternal antibodies standing between the infant and a pathogen-rich world that had no antibiotics waiting on the other side. The infant in this story survived, not because the ancient world was gentle. It was not. Infant mortality in prehistoric populations was devastating by modern standards, but the ones who survived did so because the people around them refused to stop finding ways to keep them alive, because someone shared their milk, because someone chewed the food first, because the group understood, without any scientific framework to explain it, that the infant's survival was everyone's problem and everyone's responsibility. You are here because of that understanding, not abstractly, specifically. Every person in your direct biological line, going back 40,000 years and beyond, was once that infant. Completely helpless, unable to feed itself. And someone, every single time, found a way. The baby from the beginning of the story grew up, had children. Those children were kept alive by the same improvised, community-wide, biologically sophisticated care. And the chain continued, unbroken, through ice ages and migrations and extinctions and everything the ancient world threw at it, until it produced you. The most helpless newborn in the animal kingdom, kept alive by the most devoted care in the animal kingdom, for long enough to become the most consequential species the planet has ever produced. That chain began with someone chewing food in the dark and placing it gently in an infant's mouth, and it has not broken once since then.